Hang on. God. Now we're rolling.
Now we're rolling.
You up, Laura?
I can talk.
You can talk.
Ooh. Welcome everybody to another healing talk. We're calling these minis. Minis, not so many. Yeah, we just go with it. Today, some of you read the email, but that was the invite for today. But we're talking about a really important aspect of the Katasi studies that have been stressed. Have probably wrong word. The ancients said were really important to the awakening practices, that we have to know who we are, that identity and the identity work is left out of a lot of other spiritual practices today. And so we're going to talk more about why identity is important and truly a significant core of these studies. Maybe we can talk about why it makes us happy too, okay? And so today I welcome everybody as we talk about this. Today I'm Laura Ketty. We have Helmut and Kay here, and I'm going to turn it away. Man, I'm just tongue-tied today. Turn it over to Kay to share more about why identity is at the root of these studies.
Kay said we need to bring the books in more prominently. So
yes,
Kay is the author of The Reluctant Shaman and Sacred Link. And yes, you can find both online.
And do.
It's good.
So yeah, I didn't forget.
I know.
That's good. Identity. It seems like such a small subject, a small field of, all you need is a little definition. But it really, when you really get into it, and when you're truly looking for your identity, then it starts to become a lot more complex. And first, when we're still asleep, we're still caught in the cultural dynamics and brainwashing, we identify with all kinds of other things as us, and not us as us. We think of ourselves as a mom, a grandma, a teacher, maybe a car mechanic, or an executive, or the president of this and blah, 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 blah. And it's a label. It's just a label. But we take that on as that's who we are and what we are. We identify with it. We identify with that label. And it's way, way, way too shallow and small. It doesn't have anything to do with you except what you spend some of your time doing, or the majority of your time doing. But when we identify like that with these labels, I'm so-and-so's daughter, and I'm so-and-so's wife, and I'm so-and-so's teacher, then we're missing out on the majority of who and what we really are. We're looking at one little piece, one little activity, one connection or interaction that's in our lives, and that probably temporarily in our lives. And we think that that's what we are. That's who we are. We get very consumed by that. We take on the label like a piece of clothes that never comes off. It's just there, and it's got big letters in the front with your label on it, and you want everybody to see you as the label.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you're wiggling the camera.
Maybe I should
Yeah.
sit differently. I do tend to wiggle a little.
I do too.
Okay, we'll try not to wiggle on the table because it just wiggles too much. So we think of ourselves and our place in life and the who and what we are as this label, and it doesn't fit, and it's too shallow, and it's too temporary, and it's not who we are. It's not what we are. But as the ancients said, if we're going to wake up, if we're going to come out of this enculturalization that has us in a fog, then we need to start learning about who we really are. What is that? Who is that? All the teachings start right there. They start with this identity, this thought you were, and how limiting that is. Like if you're living your whole life as somebody's child. Oh, I'm Betty's daughter. I'm Betty's daughter. The important person in that sentence is Betty. And Betty has a name, and Betty has importance, and other people know who Betty is. And it doesn't say anything about you and yourself, who you are, what you are inside, what kind of things you love, where your passions lie. It's a way of marking ourselves in the common culture, the muggle bubble, as we say, the muggle bubble, so that you can be accepted, that other people have a handle on who they think you are, what they think you are, and what you spend your time doing, and that's what kind of activity there is in that label. And we deem that as very, very important. We can't picture knowing anybody else without these labels to give us the clue of who this person is or who this person is supposed to be. Our culture has a lot of ideas about who you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be. And other people around you have all kinds of ideas about who you are and what you are, and you're not. That's not the whole picture. That's a very, very tiny piece of what you're doing in this lifetime on this planet. One little tiny piece of activity. It doesn't talk about any of the rest. So as as we study these ancients and we study their tradition called katasi, which means balance, in order to go through the teachings, the first thing is all about your identity, who you think you are, what you think you are, what have you been doing, how do you spend your time, how do you picture yourself, what kind of a box have you put yourself in. And that's part of the programming, that box. We got to take a look at the box, understand what the programming is, or we'll never get out of it. We'll never be able to get out of it. So the studies start with identity. What is your personal identity? And when we're in person, in a big room together, haven't been able to be together for a while now, everybody goes around the circle one at a time. Nobody interrupts. And each person talks about their identity. Who do they think they are? What do they think they are? Sometimes we hear people talking all about how there's somebody's husband or wife or child or the daughter of and the son of. We see these pictures, the pictures that somebody else has made up that says that's you. Society has its pictures of you, what you're supposed to be, how you're supposed to be. But once we take a look at that in a different way, from a different direction, then we start to see it's just a label. It's just another label. How many labels do you have in your life? Which one is dominant at this minute, in this part of your lifetime? And how does it box you in? You might have a label like, I belong to the PTA, the Parent Teacher School Association. And they want to get it together, so many times in the year, and they want to put on little conferences and meetings, or maybe they put on something for the public and sell cookies and stuff like that. And you're supposed to be part of it. To bake these cookies all day long, maybe you don't even know how to cook. But baking these cookies for all those people and the kids, and getting yourself all ready, making sure you look right so that nobody is judging you or condemning you. You get all your P's and Q's in a row, and off you go. And participate in something you're dreading, that you hate. Or maybe it's a board meeting at work, and you find them incredibly unuseful and a waste of time and boring, but you have to go. It's part of your job. They expect you to be there. So what is that like? What does that feel like? Do you really enjoy collecting with all those people? Doing that particular thing all the time? Maybe it doesn't touch your passion inside at all. And it's something you probably shouldn't be doing in wasting your time. When you take a look at these activities in your life and realize ooh, I really hate that one, and I don't like that one so much. And I really, really, really dislike doing this one, and I don't like the people that are there, but I'm expected to be there, and it means, this, or this in my life, like keeping your job or that kind of thing. Getting the neighbor's approval, that's a biggie. Getting other people's approval of your actions. You're doing it just for other kinds of reasons, not because it's something that you love. So as we are studying these things, and piece by piece, we're taking a look at our lives from a different direction. And we realize, oh my God, there's so many things in my life that I don't like. I don't like how I feel there. I don't like doing those things. I don't like what it makes me into. I don't want to do them. But maybe there's something you want to do that you've been condemned for doing. Maybe you want to do art. You want to make art, sculpt something or paint something or take photographs or music or something else, something that it really, really strikes you in your heart, or maybe sometimes in your gut. Something you have a longing for. Maybe you love sitting down in a library and getting out all the picture books and looking at all the art from the centuries and the different countries. And you just, it feeds you. It feeds every part of you. It brings your energy way up in your happiness, way up. But nobody wants you to do it. Nobody else wants you to do it. They all scorn you for it. We need to take a look at that. Are we listening to the scorning? Are we deciding not to do the thing that we really love because somebody else disapproves? The thing that you really love has to do with who and what you really are. It has to do with your beingness, your heart. We call that in Katasi your song, your beingness, your spirit, your soul, whatever kind of word you want to use. In the Hetaka's tribe, their word is translated into English, of course, is song, like the kind of song you would sing. And they like that word because it's so poetic, that it describes your beingness, your whole totality, your whole energetic self. And it describes it as poetry and living poetry. So that's when we start looking closer at what is song. What is that? The ancients say that everything in our universe is a song. It is a being. It's alive. It's intelligent. Everything is a song. Sometimes I say it has a song, but in English that could be a little misleading sometimes. You can't just drop off yourself somewhere. So we have a ceremony. The Hetakas have a ceremony that's the most important ceremony in their entire tradition. And the ancient pre-flood Egyptians had similar kinds of things, different ceremonies, but when they were aimed at the same goal, to be able to find out who you really are. So in the Peruvian tradition, this is a simple ceremony. It could be as short as you want or as long as you want, but it gets you to feel your song. You get to know what your song is, who your song is, how your song feels, and the signature feeling of your song, how unique it is, an individual, how you are a unique individual piece of creator. That's what all the ancients say. And in this ceremony, we learn to collect our attention and aim it right into the feeling of our song. We feel it with our body, with our emotions, even with our mind, and especially with our spirit, because it is our spirit. And you get to know, you get to meet face to face, and sort of speaking, your own song. And you realize how ancient it is, how very, very ancient and vast it is. And in that ancientness, in the feeling of it, there's memories of where you've been, who you've been, what has happened to you through these ages, what kind of gifts have you earned, what did you learn? All of it is in your song, the feeling of your song, feeling it. And even in the very first ceremony, people get a taste of who they really are, how they're so much bigger than the label that they took on in this lifetime. And they see, they feel, they experience the difference between the muggle bubble and the freedom of our song, of that happiness and joy that our song is. Our spirit has a natural quality of happiness, joy, love, huge unconditional love. And all songs are like this. We're all different, and we choose to go off and do different things, but everything is alive. Everything has a song. Everything is conscious and thinks and has emotions and communicates, is connected, communicates all the time. You feel it. You experience it. You remember it. You remember doing it before. And by doing the song ceremony over and over, and the more you do it, the more you learn about yourself. The more you learn about what that feels like. What are the qualities? What is it that you brought into this lifetime to experience, to really do? You learn your purpose in life and time. It's not a single thing. It's never a single item. It is a list. Birthed into this world, who might be your children, who might be your mates, who might be people that are major players in your life. And they've all made agreements with you. And you know this, you feel this, you remember it. All this knowledge is part of you. The knowledge of the universe. And I know you've probably heard that from other traditions, that all the knowledge is inside you. And some people mean different things when they think they're saying that. And that's okay. But in the ancient meaning, the original meaning, this is who and what you are. And it is you. It's inside you. It is you. And it's all out there. And it's all alive. And we're connected to everything. The base of our existence, the song, and the birthing of the whole universe is love. Pure, unconditional love. And all of its little subheadings that it carries with it, all different kinds of joy and happiness and passion and aliveness, passion for this aliveness. And we get to experience that, remember it, and bring it into this lifetime in a daily fashion. You realize you're not what the Muggle bubble has said you are. You're not that picture. You're not that flat and two-dimensional. You're way, way, way more. And you may not be anything like the Muggle bubble picture of you. You might be something quite different. And it's all beautiful and diverse. We notice these things about the universe and life and aliveness, and we start to feel the aliveness of everything around us, even the atoms, molecules, subatomic particles, they're all alive. The air's alive, the water's alive, rocks are alive, they have a song, they have a long history, and we interact. Sometimes we have really huge interactions with these others, and sometimes very simple, very quick interaction. But we're still connected. We're all connected. And we're all built out of love, as the universe was built on love. That was the firstborn, according to the pre-dynastic, pre-flood Egyptians. Firstborn was love. And that was personified by Mut, the goddess Mut. She's the vulture. The vulture of compassion, absolute unconditional love, and unconditional acceptance of all things just as they are, and never judging anything. It's one thing about this love, is never judging anything. Judging comes from the Muggle bubble. It is something we learned from the culture. We learned how to judge as we learned how to fall asleep and live in the fog. When you start to wake up, you realize that there's so much more, even to your physical senses. We've had our physical senses dumbed down so much. It's a shame, but it is the way it is with a Muggle bubble. And you realize it. You realize how that has diminished your sense of smell and your sense of taste and your sense of touch and your sight, your hearing. Everything wakes up, brightens up, gets richer and stronger. You even see more colors than you used to. And this is what humanity is meant to do. The ancients say humanity has decided as a whole that it's going to wake up one day, that we're done with the learning and processing of the Muggle bubble, or as they would say, the upside down, backwards turning wheel of a culture. We're done with doing that. We've done that so many times. And we're just going to let it die. And we're not going to try to pick up any pieces because it doesn't work. We tried it before. It doesn't work. And we're going to build a whole new wheel that turns clockwise. Has a positive energy, a creating energy. We're going to heal everything on the planet and all the people and our culture, our humanity itself will be awake. And this is now. This is starting now. And that all starts with identity. That's can't happen without it.
Nice.
I think that was, Kate, one of the biggest surprises. And I know I've mentioned it before, but you know, I came to these studies after reading The Reluctant Shaman. Fantastic. Went to a bookstore, in the book I was needing to know. I was really not in a good place at the time and had tried other things. And I remember saying to my girlfriend who was in there, I don't know what I'm looking for, but I'm looking for something. And all of a sudden a book went in the shelf. It had fallen over. And I immediately like, that must be a sign. I'm going to go see what that book was. Cause I mean, it really made a loud thump when it fell. And I walked over and picked up the book, The Reluctant Shaman by Trudel Whitaker. And I'm like, reluctant, that's me. You know, I'm like, this is my book and I'm going to take it home and read it. And we laughed about it. And I hadn't put much weight into that day until years later. I mean, it was, I really didn't know what a shaman was. But when you're talking about this identity thing, absolutely. I am trying not to get teary. I was afraid of me. You know, I was afraid of being me. There was a call to this magic. You know, I was having these leaking, I call it leaking, because I was half trying to shut it down, but I really actually wanted it. You know, one day it was like, I didn't want anybody to know that I had this knowingness happening. And the next day, but I wanted it. And I wanted it to be accurate. And I wanted it to be truthful. And I didn't want to be crazy. You know, and I didn't want to be perceived as being crazy. And so I was afraid of stepping in into learning more out there, that there really wasn't a spirit world, that, you know, that I was truly crazy. I was so afraid of finding out I was crazy and that I would lose everything in my life if I pursued the crazy. You know, what a relief. Thank God I was like braver than I was fearful. I mean, it was pretty rattling a few times there, but it was, it makes more sense, you know, once I did it, that the identity work to even get here. You know, it was like what I needed to find was me, the real me, to make all of this happen, and love. I mean, and what I found is the more I started identifying with those things of my song, I was just bringing more and more to my life the things that I loved, because I knew what they really were. I wasn't liking things to make other people happy. I mean, you can pretty much tell when I'm not happy anymore. I crave happiness. And so I crave continually finding those things that make me happy. I also crave being around other happy people, like really authentic, happy people. like you guys. And so this fear of losing everybody, because they thought I was crazy, I didn't lose anybody. I left a lot of people, though. In my pursuit of me, it was like those people who really were trying to hold me into identity. And even as I was coming out of my box, people were handing me other boxes to jump into. It was like, okay, you can be psychic, but you have to look like these famous, popular on TV psychics. You have to wear tie-dye or have these little glitches or niches. And everybody finds when they come to Katasi and stay in it long enough is the group is so diverse. And it's, it really is a diverse group. I mean, there's a similar signature of this like loving desire to find more of yourself and live in love, this unconditional love and truth and health, really pursuing health at all layers, but there's no uniform, it's just, there just isn't, we all are so different, the commonality is the pursuit of these things is truly the only, there's some other fun signatures that match, but really to keep talking longer than I'm supposed to, but I remember telling Helmet, I forget what it was. And I was saying, I want to grow up to be like Kay. And, I was laughing about it, a joke. And Helmet's like, well, that would not be what we're all about here. But that would be against what we're trying to accomplish. You should grow up to be you. And it's true. You laugh about it. But he stopped me already from trying to mirror you. It was this like, not, oh my gosh, I was trying to create a K box and jump into that box. We just don't even notice we're trying to create a new box until, somebody lovingly, kindly points it out to us in this group. But the power is with you all along. It's like that identity work, kind of surprised me. That's what we were learning. I was like, all right, I'm such a good student. I went along with it, like eventually we'll get to the good stuff. The identity work was the good stuff.
Still is.
It still is. I'm still figuring out who I am, in this lifetime and the previous lifetimes. It's so much fun. It's just like you pull identity, your song part of you in other lifetimes. And, you've done some really cool stuff, and well, some not so cool stuff too, but I learned. Now it's beautiful. It is truly, and it's powerful. Thank you, Kay.
And thank you.
It really pays to stay with it. It's not like something you can learn in a weekend and then you're done. It's a way of life. You're learning a way of life. And that way of life is to find out who you are. And the journey never stops. You're searching. You're searching more and more and more from your own song and from the songs of others in the universe till you die. And then you realize you're still doing it even after you're dead. And you're going on to the next whatever. And people realize it's a big universe. And we've had a lot of time We had a huge amount of time to do things, to be different things, to try on being a physical human on Earth, to try on being somebody from another planet or something in a galaxy out here. Or we've been so many different things, and remembering them, things that we would call beautiful and happy, or uncomfortable, negative kind of life result. Dying of alcoholism or something like that. You would probably consider that from the Muggle bubble. That's a downer. That's a waste. That's ruined. It's no good, and you failed, and all that kind of stuff. But in this tradition, there is no judgment. They don't even have it as their language. The Hetakas, no word, no concept for judging or condemnation.
There's also no failing.
There's no failing. So even though I remember a lifetime where I was a great drunk. I mean, I really excelled. And I don't know if I ever had a husband or children or just abandoned them, but I do remember living on the street in early London, a place called literally Gin Alley. This was the slum of the slums, where there's somebody's making alcohol in their house somewhere. I mean, just everybody. It's just so abundant. And I died on the street. Kidney failure, brain failure, liver failure, all that stuff. I remember a lot of that life. And it's such a blessing. It's such a teaching of so many different things, so many possibilities and choices, and what it means to make these choices. In our species, and for us on this planet, we are a species that has choice. We have individualness, and there are other species out there that don't have choice, and they have hive thinking, hive memory, and everything is very well defined before they're ever born. And they all live that way. That's their purpose. That's part of their purpose. They're learning how to do that, and what are the benefits. What are the joys? What are the terrors? What are everything that's available there? And when we remember some of these things, we can't help but to hold it up and look at it, and hold up your current life and see that, well, if I was more like this, and here and now, if I incorporated that gift or that knowledge here, then I could experience a whole bunch more things. I could follow my purpose in life list. Thoughts?
Yeah, I got a bunch of questions and thoughts. But one thing, as you were talking, is like, so many people, most people in our culture, take on the image of the identity that is being developed for them. And by like tuning into that, it's like how limiting that is, how we limit ourselves, how we squeeze ourselves into that little box and miss everything else that life offers. and connection offers and knowingness offers. And my question was, but this is turning into a normal talk again. We're past mini.
Oh, well.
But my question is, I mean, and you touched on a lot of answers to that question, but why do the ancients deem it so crucial to really, really work on your identity and keep digging it out and keep discovering what is to it? And the other question was all the things that we just totally miss out on if we don't do it.
There's a lot that you would miss out on. This bunch is bigger than I could ever sit here and list and describe. And the feeling of it, the beingness and remembering things. But now, what was the first question? I drowned out.
Why the ancients deem it so crucial, so crucially important to work on finding and knowing your identity, your true identity.
Because knowing your true identity is the only way you're going to wake up. You can never wake up thinking you're somebody else.
That was a mini, like right there.
Right there.
That was the mini.
That was a mini.
So we're good now. We can close. We hit the mark.
We hit the mark. That was great. Yeah.
And for a lot of us, our purpose in life for this lifetime and for other lifetimes has been to wake up out of whatever kind of box you found yourself in. Especially on this planet, we know we got lots of boxes and lots of enculturalization. We've been enculturated from the very beginning. We've been put in a box and learned how to be enculturated, be in a box, follow everybody else, take orders, do what you're supposed to do, make everybody else happy, be like you think they want you to be. And you're missing out on everything else. Leading a life being asleep, the muggle bubble. And that was our purpose in life. So from the ancients' point of view, there is nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing bad and nothing less than. You didn't do anything wrong and you didn't fail. And even if you didn't hit some of the items on your purpose in life list, you may have missed out on some of those. That's not a failure. It's just a different choice. So we've had this choice for all kinds of other reasons. We wanted to, we needed to have this particular experience. I needed to learn about addiction. So I had one lifetime where I was the drunk. I've had other lifetimes where I was a family member to a drunk, either the child of or the mate of, or et cetera, et cetera. I've had others where I was really strict teetotaler and condemning alcohol and all of the alcohol demon and all of this. From all those different perspectives, they're like another piece of one pie, a pie of addiction. And I had others where I was chemically addicted to a different substance. In this lifetime, chemically addicted to sugar, where I grew up with a lot of sugar in the muggle bubble. And what it does, how it diminishes you, and how all this stuff makes you sick and shortens your life, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I learned so many things that I appreciate so much. Some of it was hard. And I had other lifetimes that were just beautiful and glorious. In one lifetime, the last one, I had so many things that were so beautiful and so glorious. I was a young man, had money in early 1900s. And I was about 20 and I moved to Paris, and I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to study the arts. I wanted to live with all the artists. So that's why I went to Paris, because there are so many supposed to be there. So I got into that culture and made a lot of friends, had an extremely significant lover who was extremely beautiful, extremely beautiful. Learned about this, the Egyptian path, the same one that I learned about in this lifetime. I was a big part of it in that last lifetime. That was so beautiful. And then along came the Nazis and World War II and bombings and horrors beyond description. And I lived that as well. And that was all part of the one lifetime. The number of different things that I learned from that is just indescribable. I was in the French underground, and so, and I happened to look German and speak really well. I learned growing up with a wealthy family, I learned multiple languages. So I was selected. They shoved me out in front and said, you could go do this thing over there. Go to Germany and do your thing. They'll believe you're one of them. And so I did. Lots of trips and lots of getting people and papers and things and artwork and stuff out of these countries that were hit and getting them back.
How does this all tie into the identity talk?
My identity started out in that life as one very small black and white, two-dimensional, ugly picture with no light in it and no fun and lots and lots and lots of supposed to's. And that was my identity. But I didn't want that. I yearned for something very different. And so I ran away, went to Paris, became part of the art world, an artist.
And studied the teachings.
Studied the teachings, which I love. I loved everything metaphysical back then. But my family was British at the time, and they had a lot of money and a big house, a lot of stone in the house, dark, small windows, a lot of heavy curtains. It was dark in there, and they were very, very into the Christian box and really thought I should be or do this or that or the other, all of which I did not want to do. And when I ran away to the studies. I didn't know I was running away to the studies. First, I just ran away for the art and to be able to do my art and be with other artists. My friends were all artists. That was so profound for me. It was so exciting. I adored it. And it happens that some of those artists were part of these teachings and got me into that. And it carried me through. When I learned who I was in the teachings, I could go into those war-torn places where it's absolutely, when you can feel things, it's unthinkable places to be and unthinkable people to be hobnobbing with. But sometimes I would, like I started to say, I would help people get out of that country, get into someplace where there wasn't any warfare, and saving sacred things to this tradition. And that just filled me. Like art.
Excuse me.
Oops, we have a falling out of a log. Oops. It's making everything smoky. In this lifetime, following my purpose in life, which is art, again, to a big degree, and the teachings and the truth of things, the truth of who I am and where I've been, and studying my song. And I don't know what else I can say about that.
I think we're good. We're exceeding the normal talk time already. But it's beautiful. And I think we can close it out here. You on any thoughts, Laura?
Oh, I was just thinking Kay's rescuing beauty in this life too. Art and beauty. And getting people out of dark places in this life too. It just looks a little different.
Yep. Lots of people from lots of dark places.
And everyone different.
And everyone different.
Yeah.
Okay, we have, as you likely have heard by now, we have one of our big classes coming up starting in April. And the first day of that class, the first session, is about what we just talked about. More experience. Get in touch with Laura or me, lauraketty.com or katase.com. And thanks for joining. Thanks for watching. And thanks for watching later if that's what you do. And we see you around. Thank you, Kay. Beautiful.
Thank you. And thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Love you.
Love you.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.